The first thing my father said to me in the hospital was not hello. It was, "Stop, Connor," before he finishes it. I didn't even know what it was. He was lying there under fluorescent lights that made his skin look almost gray. The room smelled faintly like antiseptic and something metallic. His fingers were cold when he grabbed my wrist, and I swear he had more strength in that one desperate grip than he had in his whole body. "Dad." "What are you talking about?" I whispered. His eyes moved past me. Connor was standing near the doorway. "Calm. Too calm. Amelia," he said, like this was just an inconvenient misunderstanding. "You just got off a plane. Don't start. My name is Amelia Grant, 33 years old. I live in London. Architect, the responsible one. The daughter who sends money every month and thinks that's the same thing as showing up. I'm not starting anything," I said. "Why didn't you tell me he was in intensive care?" Connor rubbed his jaw. "Because he didn't want you to panic." Dad's monitor started beeping faster. He tried to say something again, but it came out broken. A nurse moved in and told us to step back. Connor leaned close to me. "You're overreacting. He's been declining for months. Declining. That word hit me wrong. I hadn't seen him in 6 months. I kept wiring $8,000 every month. I thought that covered things. When the nurse finally asked who held durable power of attorney, Connor answered before I could open my mouth. "I do," he said. That was the first time I felt something crack open in my chest. I drove from the hospital straight to Dad's house in Cary. Connor texted while I was stopped at a light. "He's stable. Don't escalate this. Escalate." The yard was knee-high with weeds. The porch light was burned out. The mailbox wouldn't shut. I pulled out a stack of envelopes. Mortgage servicer, utility company, property tax delinquency. I called him. "What's with the delinquency notices?" I asked. "It's temporary," he said. "I refinanced. Cash out. We consolidated medical debt. He paid the house off 15 years ago, and now it's leveraged." That's how you use equity. For how much? $385,000. For what? Debt, hospital bills, equipment, care. I've been wiring $8,000 every month, and you think that covers round-the-clock supervision? His voice tightened. "You weren't here." I pushed the door open. It stuck. The house felt cold. The thermostat was set to 55. "Why is the heat off?" I adjusted it. "He overheats." The kitchen smelled faintly sour. The fridge held a half carton of milk and condiments. "Where's the food? I've been staying at the hospital. You told me he was home recovering." Silence. A woman from across the street stepped onto the sidewalk. "You're Amelia?" she asked gently. "The ambulance came 2 weeks ago. Your brother loaded boxes into his car that night." I looked back at the dark windows. If someone is protecting something, why does it look abandoned? I went back to the hospital that night because I couldn't sit in that house another second. Nurse Patricia Reynolds met me outside his room. She looked tired in a way that wasn't about sleep. "You're Amelia?" she asked. "Yes." She studied my face like she was checking something off. "I'm glad you're here. That doesn't sound neutral." "It isn't." She walked me a few steps down the hall. The floor cleaner smell was sharp enough to sting my nose. "Your father was admitted severely malnourished," she said. "He has pressure ulcers that don't develop overnight." I swallowed. Meaning he wasn't being turned regularly. He wasn't eating properly. He was left in one position for too long. I felt heat rise in my chest. "My brother said he was declining." She held my gaze. "Decline doesn't cause bed sores like that." There it was. Clean. Direct. "He told us you were estranged," she added. "That you didn't want updates?" I almost laughed. "I send $8,000 every month." She blinked. "We were told finances were tight." Tight. I leaned against the wall because my knees were shaking. "Did he bring paperwork?" Her jaw tightened. "Several times." "Your father was medicated." I questioned it once. "And he said I was interfering in family matters." Family matters. He limited visiting hours. Signed forms himself as durable power of attorney. I stared at the closed ICU door. I thought wiring money was enough. I thought being the stable one meant I was helping. Nurse Reynolds lowered her voice. I've seen this before. The caregiver controls access, controls information, controls the narrative, controls the narrative. I felt something shift inside me, not panic, not grief, rage. If someone had told you the person you trusted most was rewriting your father's life in real time, would you have seen it sooner than I did? Daniel Mercer had handled my father's estate planning for 2 decades. When I sat down across from him, he looked older than I remembered. I assumed Connor was updating you. He said. He wasn't. Daniel turned his monitor toward me. I'm going to walk you through this step by step. I don't need soft edges. I replied. I need facts. He nodded. Over 14 months, approximately $420,000 was transferred out of your father's primary account. Transferred how I asked. Online banking. Authorized under durable power of attorney. Initially smaller withdrawals. $10,000, $15,000. Then larger lump sums. For what purpose, he clicked to the transaction detail. Credit card payments tied to resort stays, airline upgrades, sports wagering platforms, medical expenses. I pressed, limited. Most hospital invoices were covered by Medicare and supplemental insurance. My throat tightened. The refinance 4 months ago. Connor applied for a cash-out refinance. The lender required a physician's statement confirming your father retained capacity. And did he? Daniel hesitated. There is a letter. It states he was alert and oriented. Alert doesn't mean protected. No. Daniel agreed. It doesn't. How much was extracted? $385,000. The proceeds were wired to a joint account Connor opened. The house is now in delinquency. Yes. 3 missed payments. And the life insurance beneficiary change form filed 3 months ago. $275,000 designated solely to Connor. Signature notarized. Who was the notary? A mobile notary Connor arranged? I leaned back slowly. That's convenient. Daniel held my gaze. There are also gambling losses totaling roughly $60,000 in the last quarter alone. So this wasn't mismanagement. No, it was acceleration, I said quietly. He needed liquidity. Daniel didn't contradict me. Numbers on a screen don't cry, but they tell you exactly how someone unraveled. Connor showed up the next morning like nothing was burning. He walked into the ICU room with coffee in his hand. I could smell it before I looked at him. You've been busy, I said. He glanced at me. We're not doing this here. $420,000, I said quietly. Scottsdale. Sports betting. $385,000 refinance. His jaw tightened. You went through the accounts. I had to. You don't understand how it works. Then explain it. He stepped closer. Dad needed procedures, physical therapy, equipment. You think $8,000 a month covers that? It doesn't cover yachts either. I don't own a yacht. Resorts, golf trips, gambling platforms. His voice dropped. I was trying to recover losses by risking the house. That house was just sitting there. It was paid off. And now it's leveraged. That's what assets are for. For survival. I snapped. Not to fund your bets. He looked at our father, then back at me. You don't get to judge me. I was here. I was the one lifting him, cleaning him, watching him forget things. And while you were here, he was starving. That's not fair. What's not fair is finding out you changed the insurance beneficiary. His eyes flickered. Just once. Dad wanted me protected. Protected from what consequences? He leaned closer, voice low. You left. You built your perfect life in London. You sent money and felt generous. That money was for him. And I made decisions. You exploited him. He stepped back, breathing hard. You think you're better than me? No, I said. I think you're desperate. Have you ever watched someone realize you finally see them clearly, and they hate you for it? When I walked back into Dad's ICU room, Connor was standing over the bed with a legal folder open across the tray table. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Finalizing paperwork," he said without looking at me. Dad's hand was wrapped around a pen. Connor's fingers were guiding it. "He's on intravenous morphine," I said. "He's not in condition to execute anything. He's lucid." Connor snapped. "We discussed this yesterday. Discussed what Connor flipped to the first page toward me. Amendment to the Revocable Living Trust." My stomach dropped. What amendment? Just restructuring distribution? Restructuring how he didn't answer? I stepped closer and read the heading. Successor Trustee Designation. Sole authority vested in Connor Grant. "You're removing me," I said quietly. "It's cleaner," he replied. "You live overseas." "Dad," I said firmly, bending near him. "Do you understand this changes who controls everything?" Dad's eyelids fluttered. His voice came out hoarse. "Control." "What?" Connor tightened his jaw. "Dad, we talked about this. You said you didn't want conflict. I don't want you signing anything while sedated." "I said," Connor hissed, "you're sabotaging this." Nurse Reynolds entered. "What's going on?" "He's executing a trust amendment," I said. "While medicated." She looked at Dad. "Mr. Grant, can you tell me today's date?" Silence. Connor's grip faltered. Dad turned his head slightly. "No," he whispered. Then, clearer. "Not like this." The nurse closed the folder. "He lacks capacity at this moment." Security arrived within minutes. As they escorted Connor out, he didn't argue. He just stared at me. I had stopped a signature, but I had also made myself his enemy. Dad died 36 hours after the trust amendment incident. There was no dramatic speech, just the monitor slowing, then leveling into a single, unbroken tone. I was holding his hand. His fingers felt weightless, like they'd already let go. "I'm here," I kept saying. I don't know if that was for him or for me. Connor called that evening. "They told me," he said. His voice sounded frayed. "Is it true?" "Yes." A long exhale. "I was driving back. You were removed by security." "You forced that." "You forced the amendment." Silence stretched between us. "I was trying to stabilize things," he said. "You don't understand the pressure." "What pressure? Debt. Obligations. I took out personal loans when the refinance didn't cover everything." "For gambling?" I asked. "For keeping the house afloat at first." He shot back. "Then for covering what I'd already lost." So it snowballed. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. I closed my eyes. He noticed. Connor's voice cracked. I never wanted him to feel unsafe. But he did. Traffic hummed faintly on his end. "If you report this," he said quietly, "you're choosing paperwork over blood. I'm choosing what he would have wanted. You don't know that." After we hung up, I sat outside the ICU with Dad's personal effects in a plastic bag on my lap. Silence can protect someone. It can also finish what they started. Some choices don't feel righteous. They just feel irreversible. The probate meeting was scheduled 6 weeks after the funeral, not 2. By then, Adult Protective Services had already interviewed the hospital staff. Connor walked into Daniel's conference room with a folder under his arm. "Let's settle this," he said. "The estate needs administration." Daniel remained seated. "Before appointment of a personal representative, there is a pending petition." Connor's eyes narrowed. "What petition?" "Forensic review of financial transactions executed under durable power of attorney," Daniel said evenly. "Filed by Amelia." Connor looked at me. "You filed against me." "I filed for an accounting," I replied. Daniel slid a copy of the report across the table. $420,000 transferred. $385,000 extracted through refinance. Proceeds traced to personal accounts. "That's mischaracterized," Connor said quickly. "Those were temporary reallocations." "The lender has also flagged misrepresentation in the capacity affidavit," Daniel added. The physician who signed it has amended his statement. Connor's jaw tightened. He was competent. Hospital records show heavy sedation on the date of the beneficiary change, Daniel said. $275,000 redirected. Connor turned to me. You're trying to criminalize bad decisions. I'm asking for transparency, I said. A knock sounded at the door. 2 detectives stepped inside. Mr. Connor Grantone asked. Connor didn't move. There is a warrant based on the forensic audit and sworn medical statements. This is probate. Connor protested. This is civil. It became criminal, the detective replied calmly. Connor looked at me once more. You escalated this. I clarified it. I answered. The cuffs clicked softly. Accountability doesn't arrive dramatically. It arrives documented. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Connor looked smaller in the orange uniform. Not dangerous. Just tired. The judge read the charges again. Financial exploitation, mortgage fraud, wire fraud. Do you understand the plea agreement, the judge asked? Connor nodded. Yes, Your Honor. 8 years in federal custody, full restitution of $420,000, forfeiture of refinance proceeds. Connor swallowed. Yes. The prosecutor called it calculated. The defense called it desperation. Then it was my turn. I stood up. My voice shook at first. You didn't just take money, I said, looking at him. You isolated him. You controlled who saw him. You let him decline while telling me he was fine. Connor stared at the table. I thought sending money was enough. I added, that's on me. But what you did, that was a choice. The judge nodded once. Gavel down. Final. As they led him away, Connor looked back. You could have handled this privately, he said. Maybe, I replied. But then it wouldn't have been justice. Have you ever wondered if justice is just another word for losing someone for good 6 months later? The house is still standing. The mortgage is current. The refinance was partially reversed through the court's restitution order. The rest will take years. That part doesn't resolve neatly. I kept the house, not as a victory, as a responsibility. Daniel helped me petition the court to appoint a professional fiduciary to manage the remainder of the estate. I didn't want unchecked authority. I'd seen what that does. The house now hosts 2 short-term residents at a time. Not a non-profit empire, just something small. Transitional stays for older patients discharged without family nearby. The first was Mr. Harlan, 79, recovering from hip surgery. I don't want to inconvenience you, he said, standing awkwardly in the hallway. You're not, I told him. You're here because someone should have been here for my father. He didn't ask more. Connor wrote once from federal custody. I didn't start out trying to steal. He wrote. It got away from me. I read it twice. I still haven't answered. Sometimes I sit on the porch and think about how easy it is to call something love when it's actually avoidance. I sent $8,000 every month and called it duty. He called control protection. If you have an aging parent, don't rely on reports. Show up. Ask uncomfortable questions. Review the documents yourself. Not because you suspect evil, because systems fail quietly. I stopped the amendment. I stopped the transfers. I didn't stop the fracture. Some consequences correct behavior. Others simply redraw the family.